this shit again, bro.
So softly lighting up the night.
Floating, wavy like the ocean. My physical emotions show my spirit as an omen. I'm in motion like the seven seas. Connect with men and them who think like Elohim. My flow warm like a sunbeam. My third eye shine red like the waters in your bloodstream. Young king, my tongue shine without a tongue ring. My talking bling bling like it's nothing. Glowing like slick brick chains at its apex. You basic if you want love without the hatred. It's dangerous, having faith amongst the faithless. Just stay in tune with the ancient and amens. Prayers to the dead and those that deserve killing. Your life is a gift, your presence is Thanksgiving. And to the wise, every day is a holiday. And to my enemies, every day's a borrowed one. Black Storm.
Face pissed off, miss shit off course. Which way shit's going? Spent too much time in hibernation. Sleep, what went wrong? Things changed from lift off up until the destination was reached. Mind and body weak, gone from the stress on the brain. Lost in the void of space. What does it really takes to stay sane and maintain stability? Is this really me floating in the maze haze of what will I? Could I? Who should I be? Am I destined to weep and cry my life away for all the wrong mistakes I made and take the blame? Damn, this shit is so insane. Just wanna flow free like a river into the ocean. Not headed what for the fucking drain. Life caught up in disarray. System malfunctioning. Made days instead of paydays. Red light blinking. Thinking, where's the green? Hoping this is a dream. It only seems to be a nightmare. Scared, pure fear of the unknown. Where's here? Do you know what I mean? Journeys through the galaxies at light speed. Please, just catch me.
Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished. Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished.
Yeah, I'm ready for liftoff, like a hooper when it's tip off. Yeah, I'm ready to score, ready for war. Polishing my floor so I can shine like a diamond in the store. I sparkle like the son of Allah, creating rain, hail, and earthquakes, the God in the flesh. And they say God makes no mistakes. From natural disaster to calm and laughter, I'm balancing the scales like a yin-yang master. Emotional intelligence is energy intelligence. The wise use the mind to align with the elements. Health is a benefit. Treat the body like a temple. They creating viruses to end you. State to state, new mandates are taking place. World's using faith as the government vaccinates. Hard to keep your head on straight in this world of the snakes. Reptilians pose as heads of state and Congress. You gotta shine on regardless. Glow amongst the godless, rise in Christ conscious. Free yourself from mental bondage and let there be carnage to the dragon, the beast, and harlot. In Revelation, I got the heart of a gladiator. Lightsaber like Luke and Darth Vader. Training like a Jedi Knight to fight ops to get the crowd jumping like a New Year's ball drop. Let's go!
Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished. Heart always crying, but my heart won't stay silent. Sky is the limit, but after that I'm not finished.
Peace, power, prosperity. Rob Blackstorm in the building. Don't want to waste too much time. I have my special guest here. Very, very, very special guest. Someone I consider a friend, a good friend, inspiration to myself, life coach to myself in many ways. I want to bring on Dr. Ife Damon. Welcome to the show.
I'm honored. Thank you. Honored.
Welcome.
The music was fire, I just have to say.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Ife. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Yeah, we working on it. Listen, how's your week, first and foremost?
Great. It was great. Very busy and full, but all great things moving towards a great cause or many great causes.
Good. I know you're busy, but I appreciate you spending your time with me. It means a lot. So let's get into it. I know you are a proclaimed self-love coach, a doctor at that. Let's start off with, what is self-love?
Okay. So I look at self love as having a love for self. I know it's almost self-explanatory, but just to elaborate, is to be able to appreciate who you are as you are, to understand that you're perfect for your purpose, and to love who you are, knowing that you are ever evolving. So you may not be your, ideal version of yourself yet, but still loving who you are.
Excellent, excellent. I get with that. What would you say is the self? Because there's a lot of talk where people talk about, knowledge of self, knowing thyself. The Egyptians, their mantra, their mandate for the neophyte or the person coming in to study their spiritual systems, when they looked up after they got their name, the second thing was to know thyself. So, what would you say the self is?
So that is a great question. I would say that the self, so there's different ways of looking at the self. Okay, for me, there's the finite self, who is Ife, the leading edge, physical, in the matrix version. But then there's the infinite self, what for me, which I would consider like the all of just all that is, can be, some people could say God, Allah, creator. There are different names, but just that ultimate version of self. And
Got
so yeah, so that would be my way of looking at self.
you.
So
Okay.
there's always this duality, but it's really a oneness.
Got you. Yeah, it
Hmm.
brings light to the word individual, being that we are objectively different, right? We are objectively our own selves. You're Iffy, I'm Rob, right? We have different lives, we do different things, we look different, but the dual self is the soul self, right? Or the spiritual self. Well, the soul is really everything, but the spiritual self, meaning are basically the different energies that we capture or we possess or we exhibit on a day-to-day basis. So that spiritual self is quite different and varies among us, which makes us all unique, right? Depending on the spirit that we're carrying on a day-to-day basis. So tell us, now that we've established what the self is, what is love? What would you
So
define love
love,
as?
I feel like love sometimes can be even more difficult to explain because I associate with a feeling. But I will first say that my name, Ife, means love. And so it's something that has always been special to me, just the term itself, because it's associated with, it's a part of my identity, And but for me, love is a feeling. So there's like, as I'm saying it right now, like I feel my heart, in a certain vibration, and pace that my heart it has switched to just by thinking about love and pondering about love. And so I would say that it can be a verb, it can be like an action. It can also be a noun, a particular thing. And so when I'm talking about self love, I guess I'll say specifically, it's it's about kind of like the way a person will give love to others, or show their love and express their love, or have this kind of feeling. And it may or may not be unconditional, but really, to me, it is um, ultimately is an unconditional thing once your mindset is there, in that place to look at it in that way. But I don't know what the dictionary definition is for love, but
No, your definition is fine.
yeah, I would just say it's a feeling that is like awe in a sense, or it's like, I don't know, the closest word that's coming right now is appreciation, like just as something is. But love can be a care also when we think of it in, like a familial sense, like I'm a mom, I love my children, there's a care, there's a need to want to protect, to nurture, to see thrive. So yeah, I don't, yeah, these are some examples of how I look at love.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So, what would you say to the person who now, like, let's say, male or female, right? They're in an abusive relationship, but they say, I feel like, when we're not in that type of situation, like he or she is great, right? They feed me, they take care of me, they take me to the amusement park, take me to nice restaurants. So they're feeling love.
Hmm.
How would you, because you said love is a feeling, how would you rectify that in a person being that, yeah, as a self-love coach?
So yeah, I think that that's a great question. I don't deny that they feel love. I think they absolutely do feel love for that person, and even the person who may be mistreating them genuinely loves them as well. But there's also a thing called hurt and pain. So, even like just in your song, I can't remember exactly, but just as I was listening, you comparing two contrasts. You were contrasting that you can't have. I want to say it was love and hate that
Hmm.
was in there that you said, but that
Yeah.
contrast, like you can't really there's this spectrum that they both exist on. You know what I'm saying? And so there's the degrees, and so for love and pain in this instance, I'll say that they can be looked at in that way as well. Like, or in a sense of that, I won't even say it in that way, but I'll just say that love, people's behaviors, especially, we all know the phrase hurt people. Like
Hmm.
if they're hurting someone, that's coming from the place of pain. That's not coming from their place of love. But it doesn't mean that they don't love them. Just because their behavior is not being sprung forth from a place of love does not negate that they have love for that person. It's just the particular behaviors are coming from a place of pain from that person. And then they are, again, hurt people. And so from that place of pain, they are making decisions to take specific actions. And so I would say to that individual that, still a part of love and acceptance and appreciation is understanding that, who you see in front of you, like they're multidimensional, so they have these variety of ways of being. But once you are able to see the patterns, then it is up to you to decide if these are patterns that you can handle and that you can deal with and that are that resonate enough for you. Is love enough? Can you just only solely rely on the love to be able to allow you to stay, or is that pain starting to override those feelings of love? So it would be really a deeper conversation to have with that individual.
Got you. So that person that is abusive can be love. They can really love that person,
Yeah.
but they just don't know how to express it, basically.
Right. The pain is overpowering their, in that particular moment. Because like you said, in your example, like if the person is very supportive and, feeds them and takes care of them and things like that, like they do have their moments of expressing their love. But if pain becomes dominant, whatever is triggering it or whatever, is the case, um that love may not be able to override, like the desire, like when said that love can be an example of, like, care can be an example of love, like that desire to care may be withdrawn in that moment because that pain is so dominant.
Good answer. Okay, so what would you say to the person that is being that you're a self-love coach? What would you say to a person that is experiencing that right now that may be watching? How would you tell them to love themselves in that situation or exhibit self-love in that type of situation?
So okay, so exhibiting self-love is a way of just being able to have gratitude for yourself, I'll say, would be a good foundation. And so, keeping an attitude of gratitude, one of the simplest ways to begin that way of being is to, at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, some point, to, or throughout the day even, but to write just like 5 things that you're grateful for. Just start with that. And even if 5 is too much, you can just start with just one thing for the day. You are intentional about expressing gratitude for something that has happened that day, and just that alone can be a complete paradigm shift, because that individual may have never been taught to have self gratitude. So self-love, the journey of self-love can begin with self-gratitude. And really, I'll also just say that that's really the foundation of it, is self-gratitude. Like you have to have gratitude for yourself in order to be able to give that love to yourself. Because you love something that you're thankful for, that you're grateful for. And so it really is, a lot of the work is about learning how to appreciate who you are. But also, when I talked about the infinite self, um from my own personal way of looking at things, at the foundation, if I'm saying all is one, then we all are one. And so when you learn how to develop more love for yourself, you're actually also, at least this has been my experience, as I've developed more love for myself, I've also developed more love for the infinite self. And so that means I've developed more love for the way in which the world unfolds for me, whether it's the joy or the pain. Like, in one of the ways that I do that is by having a mindset that focuses on the infinite self, and being able to have love, having that philosophy that comes from my dad, like it's all good because it's all God. That's his phrase, but it's still that same mindset of, if all is one, and this is a particular experience that is designed to have the challenges that it has in order for us to experience particular successes, then it's still all is good, but you have to be able to tap into that mindset. If I'm just tapped into the Ife mindset, the finite self mindset, then I may look at it a little bit differently and be just caught up in whatever the particular circumstances. But if I'm tapping into a more infinite mindset, then I'm going to look at it, I'm gonna be overstanding and look at it from that perspective and be like, okay, this is just an experience. Like, if I can tap into that higher mind, then if I can observe Ife being in this experience and have love for the experience that Ife is having. And there's an infinite, on the infinite side, that love is there. Infinite love is the only truth, and everything else is an illusion, that the title of that book. But from that mindset, then it's like, if I even just tap into that mindset, I'm able to love Ife more, because that infinite love that comes from that infinite self. And so that vibe, that feeling, that consciousness is ever present. So it's a matter of tapping into it.
Yeah, so basically, you're basically going from the micro, looking at yourself in the situation, kind of a woe is me, why is this happening, to the macro, to where do I fit in this experience? Why is it happening? But what is the experience trying to teach me? And also, what challenge is it that I have to overcome within myself to grow out of that situation? Or, if you're comfortable in the situation, figuring out what it that's making me comfortable. So, as you said, you're looking at it from a quantum perspective, from a observer effect perspective, right? Turning a wave of potential into a particle and saying, okay, this is where I'm putting myself. This is the situation I'm in. Now, what is it that has me here, and what tools do I may need to learn or concentrate on to escape the situation, or just figure out why you're comfortable in the situation? So yeah, it's basically going from, like you said, for a two eye view to a third eye view, looking at it from the top down and seeing, okay, what role. And I think a lot of times people don't, they call it self awareness now, but I would say self awareness is like self reflection. You know, really looking at the surroundings, looking at what's happening, and seeing your role in it, and not just, we're taught, especially like today, Sunday, right? People are out worshiping Jesus, they're worshiping something else, but we're not really taught to look at ourselves. We're taught to blame devil, or blame Satan, or blame the Iblis, right? Or the jinn, right? But not really look at ourselves and what we what we did to put ourselves in that situation, what caused the situation to happen or occur. So yeah, that definitely makes sense. Uh, as I said, you've coached me through a lot of things in my life, which we definitely know. You've definitely been my self love coach in a lot of ways. You're definitely the most positive person that I've ever that I know from so that I've known in my life. Like you're one of the most positive people, and I know you always have a positive word, no matter what. I mean, sometimes I'll text you something, you'd be like, "Oh, this look at it this way or look at it that way," you know. So I know you said start with self gratitude. Give us a little bit of what you do as a self-love coach and how you are able to yourself maintain a high level of positivity in a world that is so negative. There's so much negative things coming at us. How do you maintain a high level of positivity? And as a self-love coach, what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm going to start from the last question and go to the
Okay.
first. So the optimistic mindset that I have, um, I can't honestly remember a time that I didn't have it. So I will say that I've had it all my life, or definitely for sure all of adulthood, and even for sure like as an adolescent. And honestly, some of it, sometimes when I reflect, I wonder, I feel like some of it may have came out of young teen arrogance, and so I was the type of person as a teenager, or I feel like in middle school age, so maybe a tween, but I had been very successful in elementary school. So I'll just start there. I was very studious, always excelled in school. And so I enter, middle school, and I'm in advanced classes, and definitely, was confident, and, had a chip on my shoulder, arrogant, whatever. And so that kind of, and I come from a family of, academically talented individuals. So it was also this era of like, this is what we do. Like, this is,
Hmm.
I, what else would I be but smart, that kind of, and I also, but I had friends that I wasn't but I
Yes,
had
the
friends who,
intelligence, right?
yeah, that I was in class with for these years too, and so they had that same kind of chip on their shoulder as well, and so we all kind of had like a friendly arrogance about ourselves and our interactions and stuff, and so I was always a know-it-all, and so I remember even at that age, like I did not have a victim consciousness. I had a victorious. So the point is, I've always had like a victorious consciousness, and even my conversations with my friends and stuff, like I was always going to be, it was always going to be a win. Whatever my story was about myself, I was always going to share it from the perspective of a win. And so that was a mindset that I've had even back then. And it may or may not, I mean, I can't fully say that it comes from that particular era, but that's something that I can reflect on. But I will also be honest in saying that I did not um, have a lot of struggles like in this particular way. Like I know a lot of people that have had a lot of circumstances impact them. They had a lot more pain and a lot more hurt that they endured through their formative years, and I did not. I did have parents who when they raised me were very intentional about providing a certain type of lifestyle where I wouldn't have to be stressed about, like I wouldn't, only life that would be stressing me is school, like that was, so that was the
You can
only
just lock
thing.
in the books and studying.
Right. That was the only thing I had to focus on, and just enjoying life. Like they raised me to enjoy life. They raised me to look at life as something to be enjoyed. So I also do definitely want to say, like, I did
If you saying everyone black does not come from the struggle? What? All of us don't come from the struggle like they say in the media, like all the
right,
rappers say, like all
right.
the you singers say. Wow. Go ahead.
Yes, I am here to say that, yes, that is not a scientific fact that just because,
You got
you are
extra
a black
melanin in the
person,
skin,
you have to
right?
struggle. Right. Yeah, that, and that's not to say that I didn't have my own versions of struggles for me and things that helped me to grow, but I didn't have a traumatic childhood. I'll put it that way. Um nice. And so being that I did not have a traumatic childhood, and so I was able to have, typical challenges that one should have as they're growing through life. Um, I didn't, I didn't, there weren't any things that caused me to have a negative narrative about life. And so I understand. I say these things to say that I understand that when people have had traumatic experiences, they that especially at an early age, that can cause you cause one to have a negative view of life. Especially if there's no one also then also don't have anyone who's modeling a more positive mindset. And so I did have that. I definitely
Strong role models.
I did, and I'm filled with gratitude and thankful for the soul contract that I have, was able to have with my parents. And so that allowed me to be able to honestly keep a positive mindset and be able to see the power of a positive mindset. I did have to learn that there's a term that I've heard, in recent years, like toxic positivity or something like that, like where you just try and ignore,
Right.
like act like, there's that challenges don't exist. And so, I lived in that phase, at a certain point in time, but I learned like part of self-love is loving the whole. You can't just love the joy, but you have to love the pain. So that's about, again, an attitude of gratitude around all that is. You know what I'm saying? Being able to, which is where the self-talk comes from, because you have to be able to tell yourself, another quote from my dad, a good news story, as you probably gonna tell, daddy's girl. But there's a lot of jewels that he dropped. Like, and so he specifically said, you have to tell yourself a good news story. One of my favorite quotes that's semi-modified, but that I got from him: the life I live is created by the story I tell. And I added the words myself, the story I tell myself. And so I live that way, and so even when it is a challenge, so for example, January 1st, 2020, I was diagnosed with cancer. And as soon as the doctor said, I had cancer, and they walked away, as soon as they walked away, the first thing I said to myself is, well, let's see what this blessing looks like. That was the very first thought. I didn't say, why me? This is terrible. I've been doing all of these great things. God, why are you cursing me like this? I said, let's see what this blessing looks like. But I had a lot of intentional work and self-work that I had did up to that point for that to even become an automatic thought, because I did self-conscious mind work. I said subconscious mind work. I did work on what's the auto self, what's the automatic, and so that's practice makes proficiency. And so, I've definitely over the years been very intentional about practicing positive mindset around whatever shows up.
What does that look like, that work where you talk about what is the auto self and what does that
So,
mean?
and this can go to your other question. Like if I'm working with a client, and I will help to, first of all, just identify what are the challenges that they're facing and utilize the information to help them to come to the realization of what it is that they're really being beckoned to desire. Their soul or their, spirit is being beckoned to desire. And because that's how I look at it. The challenge, there's a gift in the curse, you know what I'm saying? But you got to look for it. And so if there's something particular that's coming, that's a challenge, like if you set your lens to be able to be like, all right, there's something in here that I need, that I need to know, then you're automatically looking. And so you automatically looking for it. And so what I do is work with clients to help them to first identify what is that particular challenge, and then provide them with processes that will help them to be able to identify the gift in that curse. You know what I'm saying? The thing that it is. So, like, for example, if you know that you don't like your job, let's say your job is very stressful and it is, you don't like to go there. And so what you don't want. You don't want to work at that job. Well, then I'm going to ask you, tell me some more things. What is it that you don't like? My boss is a micromanager. They have poor systems in place. They, it's the time is too early. I work too many hours, whatever these different things are. So then we're going to look at that. We know what you don't want now. So, okay, what's the opposite? Or what is it that you do want? Because you're spending a lot of time focused on what you don't want. And so your energy that's where you're consciously you're unconsciously training your consciousness to look based on subconscious behaviors,
Mhm.
and so it's
Yeah,
about
what you focus on expands, right?
exactly right. Energy, what is it? Energy grows where attention goes,
Where
right?
attention flows, yeah.
Yeah. And so you want to so I help people learn how to put their attention on what they actually want. And so let's say they want a job that is paying more money, that has better hours, that has a great employer and things like that. Then also, taking it to a more feelings vibrational side is, well, what that will that make you feel like? Because for me, one of the things that I've learned is that when you can focus on the feeling, you can get that feeling ASAP. You know what I'm saying? You might not be able to get the thing you want ASAP in the moment, but if you spend a lot of your time on the feelings that you want, then you can get your vibration in alignment with that particular feeling. And honestly, that's a better look anyway, because it can really open you up to getting even more of things that you didn't even fathom, but that are going to give you that feeling, because now you've tuned your own personal tuning fork to joy, you know what I'm saying, or freedom, or whatever, feeling. You're allowing yourself, I mean, if you're staying open, you're allowing yourself to be able to receive, and you're training. And I like to talk on the spiritual but also on the science side too, just because some people don't rock with both. And so you're training your subconscious mind to look for the thing, that is what you want. And so you can look at it either way, law of attraction. There's many ways you could do it. Training your subconscious mind, law of attraction, you know, any other, there's many ways you can title it and think about it. But those actions either way are effective, and I've seen it for myself time and time again. I've spent time where I'm very intentional about things I want, but like I said a few minutes ago, like I found that it's even juicier and funner and more exciting when you really can just stay open and be surprised by life. Like, yeah, have some things that you want to see, but also, like, if you can spend time with that feeling, that or those feelings that those things you want will bring, you're really getting into a higher level of alignment. You're really expanding yourself. You're moving more towards that more infinite self than just the finite self. So I help clients to do things like that.
These dope, 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 dope. So, optimistic. You spoke about having an optimistic mindset. When you talk about the root word opti, right? Maybe think of like optical, right? Your vision, what you see. Um, and the word ma'at, right? Or being ma'karut, seeing. It's the word ma'at, the root MAA means to see. So it's like basically your vision and your perceptive, and the optimistic or the mystic meaning mysteries. So seeing the mystery of life, or seeing what is not necessarily there physically, it all starts mentally, because the mind moves the body. So without the mind, nothing physical could move in your life. So your point as far as what you talk about, as far as generating the feeling, right? Neville Goddard, that's one of his things. He always says feeling is the secret.
Hmm.
And feeling the joy, right, of the thing happening before it actually manifests is one of the major keys. But as you said, you have to do the mind work and tune your mindset. And it is a process, right? Like a lot of people jump into spirituality or jump into self-help, and they think that, a couple repetitions, a couple YouTube videos, maybe a week of work, you're automatically going to shift your mindset. And it's not that simple. Like, especially if you have, heavy traumatic events that happen as a child, or heavy traumatic events during your 20s, it's going to take a lot of work for you to, and certain cultures too, right? It's kind of, like, I know, like, for instance, a lot of Caribbean people, right, they tend to speak like negatively about things. It's like almost cultural, where like you suck your teeth for certain things, right? You think, you think the worst about certain things, right? And even that, you have to learn to break out of that. And it might cause you to lose friends and family. It might
Hmm.
cause certain things to change in your life, but the benefits way outweigh the challenges, because now not only are you thinking for yourself, so you can make better decisions for you and not via what the crowd wants or what's the trending thing. But now you're able to look at yourself as a God body or as someone who has the spirit of God that's able to do miracles.
Mm-hmm.
As they say, God is omnipresent, omniscient, right? Omnipotent. So if God is everywhere and you are one with God, then you are everywhere as well. So
Mm-hmm.
every opportunity that is available in the cosmos, including, like you said, you're dealing with the battle with cancer, but overcoming that and thriving through that, you tapped into that opportunity of, okay, what does this mean for me? Like, all right, what blessing is this going to provide me? What blessing is this going to get me? Now, I know you were featured in a Time magazine as a prominent educator. I know education is one of your passions. I know, I think you were slated to meet people in the White House or something like that, but you had to get that hokey pokey. I might be wrong. You could correct me, but I know you had to get the hokey pokey for certain instances and resume teaching, and you decided not to. Talk to me about that. The challenges of going through cancer and cancer recovery, and some people would say, well, you're going to meet with Obama, you're going to meet with this person, you're going to meet with the White House, the educator. Like, you're going to turn down this opportunity when you could just, take this shot. Like, talk about that challenge and how you use your self love to overcome that.
Okay. So yeah, there was no opportunity to meet Obama, so I do
Okay.
want to clear
Okay.
that up.
Okay. All right.
However, I was on a National Foundation press panel with the U.S. Secretary of Education. So
Okay.
it was White House connected, but it was virtual. But what is also true is that as a New York City educator, there was an expectation. Well, there was a requirement, a mandate that in order to stay employed, you had to become vaccinated with the COVID vaccine. And so, I'm sorry if I was supposed to say that.
Yeah, we
Just
don't
the,
say that. We don't say those words. We don't say those words. It's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
Hopefully
I'm
they'll
not.
pick it up.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so yeah, my bad. Yes. So I was required to. That mandate was imposed upon me, and I did not. It didn't resonate with me to do that. And so I did not, and I knew that that meant I would lose my job, which was the bread and butter for myself and my children. But because of the faith that I do have, in the infinite self, what I'm saying, all the way to the finite self, and what I feel, my calling is here. Um, I looked at it as just this is part of my path, in my journey. This is the point of my journey where I have to really take another level of demonstrating, self faith, and I had to do that also with cancer. Like, again, I said, what does, immediately I said, let's see what this blessing looks like. And cancer was a blessing, in many, many ways. Like, of course, it sucked, to have to go through chemo. I had locks, just as long as these braids, and I had to lose all my hair. That sucked. That was sad. That was heartbreaking for me. Sisters are, our
Wow.
crown is very important, and personal and special. And so to have to lose all my hair definitely was sad. I feel the energy, right, the sadness, like just in reflecting right now. So I'm not saying every single thing like, woohoo, take me on that ride again. I'm not acting like that, but there were many things. Like, I learned more about myself having that time. I was forced to before the pandemic, before lockdown and all that stuff, I was forced to go within anyway, and be at home and just have a lot of time to reflect, because even though I was in school working on my doctorate, I had to stop because I really just didn't have the energy to be able to go through chemo and work on my dissertation. And so that really allowed me, for the first time, because I also wasn't teaching, for a portion of that time. And so it was one of the few times in life, and I was sick, so my only job was to heal, and that was very rare. Like, even I couldn't fully take care of my children. I was in a hospital, first of all, for almost a month, so
Mm.
definitely wasn't able to take care of my children. And so even in the hospital, like I was really forced to take my introspection to a deeper level. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned about like strength versus vulnerability, and how I was like being too strong really was a problem. And it's sad sometimes because sometimes you don't have a choice, even going through that period at the hospital. Like when I got home, I reflected on everything I went through and actually cried for that Ife that just had to endure everything.
Mhm.
In the hospital I was task oriented, like, oh, okay, I gotta take this, I gotta do this, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, like, check, 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 check. All right, what's next? But then when I got home, it was like, yo, you just had a surgery. You had to end up having blood transfusion. You had to do this. It was a lot of traumatic things that I went through, a lot of trauma. But what I did also recognize was that my faith never wavered. The self
Mm.
faith, you know what I'm saying, never wavered. And this is why the self love is important, because it can bring you to that self faith for you to be able to um not live in fear, really. So throughout that whole experience, I did not live in fear. I just knew, I didn't, even though I didn't know what things would look like, I knew that it would be fine. And I knew ultimately it would be a blessing, because I already trained myself. It's automatic for me to be a silver lining. I call myself the queen of silver linings, because I know how to tell myself a good news story. I've been doing it since a little arrogant middle schooler. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to find the silver line. Like I'm programmed. I've programmed myself very intentionally as an adult to always, find a silver line. I didn't necessarily do that always. And as a teenager, like I definitely went through, teenage trauma, not trauma, but drama or life, the like just the whole shift of going from a child to an adult there's a lot that, so I definitely had all of those those, typical experiences. But, as an adult, I have taught myself how to look at all situations and things that I would have traditionally deemed as bad and put a positive spin on them. And so with cancer, that was no different. And it definitely was a blessing. Like it allowed me to be able to stay home. I did return to teaching, but virtually was able to do that, for a few years before the mandates, kicked in and things like that. And so that, that also taught me about myself, that I really am true to my faith and way of being. Like this is not just when times are good, because times are typically good from, I do, but and that could be because of the way I look at things. So somebody else could look at live the same experience as me and say things are horrible because of whatever they're, deciding to put their focus on, but I focus on the highlights. And so but even during that time when everything there was no way I could just act like everything was just hunky-dory, and so but I still remained optimistic the whole time, and feel like, yeah, like it was a blessing. I hope that answered the question.
Definitely, definitely. It's like they say one person looks at a Basquiat, they see an ugly painting. Another person looks at a Basquiat, they see beauty and want to buy it, right? So it's
Mhm.
really it all comes down to, like you said, your third eye perspective, what you're looking at, and tapping into that infinite self, that infinite wealth of opportunities that are out there, and making sure that that's what you're focused on. What were some of your practice, being that we had the pandemic and we had, you had this illness? What were some of your like daily practices that you did to? I know you speak positive and you have a
Mhm.
positive mindset always, but what, and daily going to the doctors, dealing
Right.
with things like that in a pandemic, with quote unquote deadly disease coming out. How did
Right.
you day to day handle that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I find very useful for me is journaling. Now I'm not a 365 a day journaler at all. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but I know the value of journaling. And so that's something that I did, that someone had like gifted me a journal while I was going through that. And so I used that when I got home. I immediately started writing like on day one, and But one of the other things that I did, which is kind of like a journal, but more of a virtual version, is I became a YouTuber. Like I created my own YouTube channel and processed that in a way with the goal of being an inspiration for other people because I already knew that I was going through this as a victorious person. Like that was not a doubt whatsoever. And so I wanted to be able to show people what that looks like um, through cancer, through the whole process, chemo, everything. I was making videos at chemo treatments, so like I wanted, so that was a way also, just a specific thing for me. Like I said, it was more of a visual journal that I shared, but that was still a form of journaling, but also like not fully affirmations, but like I just have my own like daily things that are I guess you could say affirmations that are on my calendar. They've been on my calendar for like 8 years, but they're
Give
just
us some. Give us a couple. Give us a couple.
so infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is an illusion. That's one. Let me pull up my phone. I give you all the
Okay.
real ones that's on my calendar.
Yeah,
Definitely that one.
let us know the magic.
The magic, okay. So others include, hold on, I'm just getting my
No
phone up.
problem. Take your time. Give us that sauce.
All right. So one of the things, this is something to ponder, but for me, it's something, again, it's about subconscious mind programming. So one of the things that I have is, what is the judgment releasing thing to do? And so it's about, training the mind to think about, how do I release judgment? How do I stop judging others? Because when I'm judging others, I'm really judging myself. Everybody's a reflection of me.
Fact.
And part of self-love is releasing judgment. You know what I'm saying? Like you really, that the love and judgment don't really coexist in that same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, love is, it's on a whole other level anyway. Everything else, like anything else is part of the illusion, but infinite love is, the only thing that exists. Everything else is illusion. So, all the other things are part of the illusion, but there's a part of you that can also love those things, but understand that those things are not necessarily the infinite love. They're more of an illusion thing, but they have their gift. They all still come from love. You know what I'm saying? In a sense of, if infinite love is the only thing that exists, everything comes from that. But the what makes this life juicy is the challenges. Like, what kind of, it's just bliss. Otherwise, and I say, what kind of corny life is that? Just as a very the finite Ife, you know what I'm saying? But of course, bliss is lit. But this is a fun experience we get to have by having the illusion of otherness, the illusion of, there's not, it's all not just one, the illusion of duality, that's that. And so you hear I say this is a fun, this is lit, but somebody else may say these challenges like, oh, they may not want to, they may not be with it, they may not feel like it's worth it. What's the whole point of this? I don't like, struggling. But I do truly believe that the mindset and the self-talk can change all of that. The same circumstances, and I know, of course, people could be like, Ife, it's easier said than done. Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You didn't grow up with these particular challenges. And so I get that. But I will say that I have people that I've helped who have gone through those challenges, and they can attest to it. They can attest to the power of mindset and the power of self-talk and the power of a good news story. So,
definitely one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to say I'm so proud of your growth, and where you're at. And, so thank you. I appreciate that. Another one that that I have on my calendar is, help me to remember and embody more of who I am today. So again, it's about tapping. That one is more about tapping into the infinite, more of the infinite self mindset. Another one that I have on here, this is all in one like calendar, is probably not going to show, but Ife, I love
two more.
Okay.
Powerful.
Yes,
Yeah.
2 more. Okay, so this one, and this is Ho'oponopono, I think is the where it comes from, but I kind of give my own version. Ife, I love you. I really, really love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. And so, and I also hug myself every day, and I kiss myself. And so I'm truly showing myself love, and the very first time I did that, like it's weird because it's like, who does that? But I do that with my clients, and they love it. And they're like, this is the first time I've ever done that. and it feels nice, and so those are the things, like I say every morning in the bed. Yes, self-love. You see it, right?
It
Look
feels
right
good. It feels. I
there.
just did. It feels good. It does feel good.
Good.
Just
Yeah,
that little instance, I
just
felt like a
that.
charge. Yeah.
Right. Self love. Like, we gotta love ourselves more. We give our love. One of the things I learned about myself, several years ago, is that I was giving everyone else the love that I was looking for someone else to give me, that
Mm,
I wasn't getting from anyone else. And that's when the light bulb went off, like, girl, you got to give it to yourself.
mm-hmm.
You can't, nobody else is going to give you that Ife love. You know what I'm saying? The love you giving everybody else that is right and good, and nobody else is gonna give you Ife love. They can give you whoever they are love, but if you really want that Ife love, you have to love yourself. And so that's what this journey has been about for me, is just learning how to love myself. But yeah, a lot of it's the mindset. And again, even that last part with the Ife, I love you, I really, really love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, I love you, or thank me, I love me, depends on how I feel in that moment. But I also oftentimes imagine that it's the voice of the infinite self saying that to me.
Mm,
And so then that allows me to tap in on that level and allow it to be felt though on this level. So there's that, that duality piece.
yeah. As above, so below.
Hmm.
Correlation. Yeah. The infinite self, like infinite self slash God self, is really dealing with like your consciousness and making sure that you are kind of pruning your garden, so to speak. Because right now, as you know, Ife, there's a lot of fear being pumped into the nation, and a lot of people are going through a lot of ups and downs with, um, I just was reading something about car repossessions. They're like at 67%. A lot of
Mm.
people are fearful. Food went up 10% in February. These things that go up, they never really go back down, right? Used cars are up, right? So not only are people getting cars repossessed, but if they want to get another car, it's more expensive. Rumors of wars, the whole BRICS thing where all these countries aligning and abandoning the dollar. Like, there's a lot of people scared. I mean, even, people are shooting people for just, ringing the wrong doorbell and, driving up the wrong driveway. There's a lot of fear being pumped and pressurized. And also shame, you don't have money, you're broke, you're this, you're that. But a lot of people are going through that, but you don't see these things online. You only see the highlights, right? But you don't see what real people are really going through on Facebook, Instagram, and these social media sites. What advice would you give someone who is, going through a situation, maybe homeless, maybe she lost a car, maybe going through a breakup? What steps or techniques would you give somebody, let's say like step 1 to 3, to kind of ease their way up out of feeling down and into a space of self-love?
Okay. So I would say that I don't know if it's going to be steps 1, 2, 3, but the first thing, which is kind of what I said earlier, like that attitude of gratitude is where to start. So
Mhm.
trying to start with at least one thing that you are grateful for. What's one thing that's going right in your life? And identifying that and building on that. And so once you started to get into that autopilot of being able to, at least start to be grateful for things, then it becomes like, okay, well, the things that are challenges, what can you tell yourself? Like, if we're talking about like on the mindset side, what could possibly be a reason why going through this is will be something you appreciate down the road? So that makes you kind of shift from what's happening right now, but keeping what in mind what's happening right now, how can that end up becoming a good thing? Even though it doesn't seem like a good thing right now, what could possibly happen that might make you look at it as a good thing? So when you do that, then you're telling, you talk about optimism, and the vision, having a vision of the future, having an optimistic vision. This allows you, these are steps towards that, because
Mhm.
now you're thinking about something you're currently going through, accepting it for what it is, but thinking about how can this end up being something good down the road. So now you're thinking about your future self.
Mm.
And so how can your future self benefit from what's happening right now, and how can you tap into it? So it is a one. I'll give you 1, 2, 3. So the third step would be, how does that future self feel with the idea that if the future self has this experience of this particular thing that's happening right now becoming a blessing, that you're happy that it happened. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a part of me that's like, oh, I'm so, I'm thankful. I really do have gratitude for having gone through the cancer experience. Am I saying I want to do it again? No, but I have gratitude for that experience. You know what I'm saying? And even though I didn't have a vision of where I would be right now as a result of all of that, I had the feeling that I knew that it would be a blessing. And so for me, it's enough for me to be like, all right, I know what blessed Ife is gonna feel good. You know what I'm saying? So that's the vision. The blessed Ife is gonna be, have an attitude of gratitude. Blessed Ife is gonna be fulfilled. Blessed Ife knows she's perfect for her purpose, and whatever she's currently going through is a part of the process of what she needs to go through in order to continue to, fulfill all of her different purposes that she, has a soul contract to express, and experience. So the third thing would be, to think about how does that future self feel with these potential experiences. And so then that's again aligned, that vibrational alignment piece where you're getting in alignment with a particular feeling and you're associating it with your future self. So sometimes it's hard to think about in your current state. It's hard to get into a particular alignment with a particular vibration, but it can be a little bit easier to think about the future, especially if you have that mindset, which you talk, that thinking of looking at infinite possibilities exist, and so if so even if you haven't had that experience to live that life, if you and this is spirituality and science, when we talk about quantum, the quantum realm. And so, if you know that infinite possibilities exist, then you know that of this particular version exists. And it's a possibility, but then getting into a vibrational alignment with that possibility is what makes that possibility become more of a probability.
Mm. The word quanta means light. So you're giving yourself light to that wave of potential, that wave of the potential outcome. And, like I always tell people, it's something that you have to do on a ritualistic basis, something that when you wake up, you want to see your future self. The past is the past. Yesterday happened. Whatever happened yesterday happened. You're blessed with a new day. Today's a new day. So what does your future self look like? And the law of attraction is very much aligned to the law of vibration. A lot of people, we'll think certain things and we'll say certain things, but our bodies are not resonating with that energy that is propelling you toward that thing that you're thinking. You have to see it, but you also have to feel it as well. It's not enough to just read books and study, like you were saying. It's something that you have to put into practice. And the emotional resonance, I always say, as melanated people, like our power, our emotions, right? A lot of us don't manage our emotions well because of the harsh urban environments or some of the things we may have been through and some of the programming that's out there to make us think emotionally or act irrationally. But our emotions, right, is what powers our music. It's what powers a lot of our culture. It's what powers a lot of rituals, right? Especially in indigenous cultures. You don't see them doing any type of worship to God or the universe or nature or whatever without some type of music, without some type of chanting, without some type of dancing. So there's always rhythm involved. There's always vibration involved. So I think and know that once we get a handle on using these vibrations, using our music, using our culture, using our dance, using our movement, even towards the purpose of us reclaiming our divinity and realizing we are one with the universe, we could tap into all spirits and all different outcomes that are out there. But it first starts with you. It first starts with your prefrontal cortex saying, okay, I'm going to really activate my third eye. I'm going to make the decision to make the move. And this is what my future is going to look like. And the more you think about that, what I've found out is your conscious, right? Not your consciousness, but your conscience, your heart space within. And you start to like feel a certain way if you don't do what you say, because you put yourself in a vibrational alignment to go towards a certain way. So you will actually guilt yourself to the point to where you get up and do things, or you get up and make the change, or you put down, if it's a substance or if it's depression or if you're feeling lack, you start to put those things down because now you put yourself in a vibrational alignment towards the future. And mind moves matter. So your body has to move towards that direction. It's almost impossible. And the universe has to respond to your move because, scientifically speaking, as we were talking about, you're an electromagnetic being. So the electric charge that you put out is going to bring in certain things. But that
Mhm.
all starts, like you said, with the mindset, the vision, telling yourself certain things and feeling these things to be true. And the more you do that on a repetitious basis, is the more you will attract to your life that is favorable towards you. Not to say you won't go through challenges and ups and downs, but when you are going through those challenges, you look at them from a totally different lens than the average person who's just trapped to not the infinite mind, but the mind that is earthbound, the mind that is only seen with two eyes, the mind that's only seeing what's in front of them. But with the third eye open, now you have infinite possibilities to select from and choose from and say, yeah, the doctor said this. Yeah, this happened at the job. Yeah, I broke up with the girlfriend or the boyfriend. Or yeah, my marriage is going like this. Or yeah, I lost my car. I might have lost my home or whatever the situation is. But these things are preparing me for a better future. And what did I learn from that past? And what am I going to use from that past? Or maybe I made a bad decision in the past to move forward in a different direction and create the lifestyle and the life that I want to live in the future. So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Ife, anything you want to leave the people? We are a little over the hour mark. I don't want to take too much of your time. Anything you want to leave the people, and then tell them where they could find you and how they could book you up some of your great services.
Okay, yeah. So I will just the one last thing I will say to the people is that you are perfect for your purpose. You are perfect for your purpose, truly. And enjoy the ride of being here. Life is, I believe life is meant to be enjoyed. This can be an enjoyable experience. So enjoy the journey. I can be found, my channel on YouTube for coaching is Self Love Coach Ife. Um, Also, my website for you can go to ifedamon.com. That's spelled IFEDAMON.com. And also, I'll just put a quick plug in for on the education side, which is where my energy is primarily used. And so, I'm the founder of the community based education movement, and you can learn more about that at cbemovement.com. Thank
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I know teaching is your passion. So real quick before we go, for someone with children, what would you advise them on navigating their children and helping them, find a safe space in a world as crazy it is today as it is today?
Yeah, I think that you can start, and it's not easy because I'm a parent, have 4 children and 2 grandchildren. It is, as I can best lead by example because a lot of times my kids they may or may not want to hear all of this, self
Right.
help stuff, and that's something I've had to accept. Like I don't understand, but everybody, one of the things part of self love is loving that they all have their own individual journeys, and I'm just a certain part of it, but not the whole. But for parents, they can start with helping their children to have an attitude of gratitude, which is having a conversation, once a day. What are 5 things that you were grateful for that happened today at school or at camp? Or what are 5 things that you look forward to happening to? If it's in the morning when you talk to them before they go to school, what do you hope you can be able to say at the end of the day? Because then you're helping them to get into that future visioning, by thinking about the outcomes of the end of the day, or how you want to feel at the end of the day. Sometimes when I have like a big task at hand, or I'm about to go into some big situation or session or something, that I feel is high stakes for me, like I get myself in alignment with how I want to feel after. So like I'll be like, as soon as it ends, I'm be like, yes, you rocked it. Like, and so that's the energy that I go entering into it. So like helping their children to you know take those kind of actions and think in that sort of way at an early age, and hopefully if it's done repetitiously enough, then it can go onto autopilot, and that can be a part of the baseline of how they move through life.
Yeah, those key ages from like 1 to 7, they say, when you're the most programmable and malleable, those are the times we want to start incorporating a lot of these ideas and ideals in our
Hmm.
children, you know, And the good thing is, like you said, we have the internet, we have all these resources now. We could kind of get information and learn from others' experiences in order to best direct our children. Of course, they're going to do what they want to do. We're basically just their custodians, but they have their own life and their own journey. And I think a lot of times we have to remember that and go back to the space of when we were children and see it from their lens, see what they're going through and try to understand them, understand their voice, and understand the ways they see things, because it's
Mhm.
supposed to be us learning from them as well, not just us teaching them, but us learning from them. And I
Absolutely.
found, even with my children, those are the things that keep you young. Those are the things that keep you aware. And those are the things that kind of allow you to bond,
Mhm.
more with your children, from understanding what they're, and not just being dogmatic. I told you to do this and you don't know this and you're stupid, and a lot of the negative things that come out from parents, and sometimes you don't realize the type of damage you're doing to your child by seeding them with the wrong type of talking points or the wrong ideals, or saying the wrong things that are negative, things that are not positive, even if they're doing negative things, even if they're doing things that are quote unquote against what you want them to do, trying to understand why they're doing it, seeing it from their perspective, trying to get a handle on what it is, and support, right? Support through whatever they're going through is very important. I remember you taught me, you might not remember this, but you taught me about the 5 things in like 2016, I think, 2017 maybe. And I remember I was doing it on Facebook. Like I did it for like maybe 4 or 5 months straight. Like I was writing down every day the 5 things I was thankful for. And you never really run out of things to be grateful for. You never
Mm-mm.
run, whether it's socks, whether it's toenails, whether it's
Yes.
your home, books, your car, your bed, your pillowcases, like you never, and it was very integral to the mindset that I have now, where I don't really worry about much. I don't really worry about much. I don't really stress about much, no matter what the money is, the situation, this and that. There's always opportunity to learn, as you said.
Mhm.
There's always an opportunity to grow from it.
Yep.
And just the way you see things is really, really key in life. The glass is always half full.
Yes.
Always. It's
Yes.
never half empty, no matter what
Yes.
you're going through. It's always half full. And the more you see life in that direction, I can tell you from my experience, and I'm sure from seeing your experience, life just gets better and better when you see things that way. It doesn't get worse. It only gets better. You may go through some things, you may go through some tests, but those tests are to see, are you really learning these lessons? And that's where the magic flows from. The magic doesn't flow necessarily from the candles, from the herbs, from all these other things, but the magic flows from your heart. And once you are training your mind, your heart beats a certain way and it puts out a certain vibration to the world. And it not only comforts you, not only educates you, not only gives you downloads and information, but it also protects you as you go in the world from taking in the wrong things, from meditating and ruminating on the wrong things. And it always aligns you to what's right towards you. And it also directs you towards knowing and understanding what your purpose is, which is the most valuable thing of all. I looked at a meme, Ife, and the meme said, there's the 2 most important days in your life are when you were born and when you find out why, you
Mm.
know. And I think those 2 things, what you doing your educational work, going into the self-love space as well, and me doing my spiritual work, I believe we found our why. And I believe just
Mhm.
through knowing both of our journeys, we're both much happier for it, despite the ups and downs. So
Yes.
yeah,
That's
we're
right.
proof positive that you can make it happen, you can make things happen, you could be at peace, you could be happy, you could be live a joyful life. You don't have to be stressed, you don't have to be depressed, you don't have to be worried. Like that does
Right.
not have to be the dominant frequency of your life every day. Worry. It's really up to you. But you have to
Mhm.
put in the day-to-day work to make it up to you. It's not just gonna happen because you bought a particular herb and candle on a particular pendant or crystal and voila, poof. It's just gonna be here. You have to put in the work. And I've seen Ife put in the work. I'm putting in the work, and it's a never-ending journey, but the journey is beautiful. Definitely. With that being said, thank you guys for coming out.
Mhm.
Thank you, Dr. Ife, for your time. I appreciate y'all. One love. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. This message resonates. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you think. And with that said, peace, power, and prosperity. Rob Blackstorm, Dr. Ife.
I'm going to end
Out.
with a hug, a self
And then
hug.
self-hug, right?
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
And
Truly
start
a
with those
pleasure.
5 things daily.
Yes.
5 things. Write them down. Get a
Great
book. Write
start.
them. It's a great way to change and reshape your mindset, especially during these times, because you need
Yes.
to be as the world is pumping fear heavy. Like you can see it. It's pumping fear in all different directions. So
And I
you
got
got
a
to know
whole
that
good
no
news
matter.
story about that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
big good news story. This is exciting times,
yeah,
because we're
yeah.
in the precipice of change. We're in the chrysalis of we're transforming, so we're at the end. We're actually like in the birthing labor, you know. It's all about the pop right now. So it's exciting times, but so yeah, think about how could it be exciting? Like what could possibly come from these crazy times that we're seeing right now that will be lit, you
hmm
know.
It's the best time to be alive.
It
There's no
is.
more opportunities to me as a person of any race, culture, or creed than now. I mean,
It's lit. Yeah.
it's the best time, really. There's so many opportunities strictly based off just having a computer. Just having a computer and a laptop, you already won.
Yeah. Yep.
For real, you already
Yeah.
won. Having
Yeah.
health, you already won. Having a
Yes.
working mind, you already won.
Yes. You got the
So this is
tools.
not
Yeah.
really a bad time at all. Like Ife
Mm-mm.
was saying, it's not a bad time at all. It's really one of the greatest times to be alive because, like you said, we are in the chrysalis, getting ready to butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
So don't look at anything that's in the news as things that are holding you down or going to hold you back in the future. No, your future, everybody else in the world, they could think what they want to think. They could view the world, family, friends, they could view the world the way they want to view the world. How do you view the world?
And
And
I would
you
also say, oh,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would also say, don't look at the news just and then period, just end it right
Yeah.
there. Like
Yeah,
I
they
don't even watch. I
yeah,
don't. Well, I haven't watched the news in decades. Like
myself
because
either.
I don't like I call it bad news because it's
That's all it
always
is.
it helps to keep fear going, and so
Mhm.
that's not the energy I want, and so I don't spend my whatever I need to know. I find out.
Right.
I found
Yeah,
out there was
social
a
media will
whole
tell you. Yeah.
pandemic. I found out anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna find out. I found out I had to stay in the house. Like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna find out what I need to from that part of the matrix, but I choose to stay,
Yeah. Yeah, I
in
don't watch the
my
news either.
own Ife world.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I've talked about that a lot there, but if you're new here, definitely don't watch the news. Like I don't watch the news. I
Yeah,
remember maybe last year I watched the news just to see, and I was like, Jesus, people watch this every day still. Like
it was crazy.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
it's so negative, it's so beat down, it's so drag you down, it's so the worst things that can happen in your neighborhood or your city or your town.
right. But
And
fear is a pain body. It's an old friend. For
mhm,
some people, it's a comfort to have fear. And so the news helps to keep that comfort going, but it doesn't
mhm.
have to be that way.
Yeah, you have something in your brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system basically goes off what you program it to go. So basically, reticular dealing with the eye, activating what you activate, and it's a system. So systematically, if you point your visions toward and point your focus toward what you want versus what you don't want to see versus what negative could happen versus the bad outcomes, quote unquote, if you point your vision towards happiness, if you point your vision towards purpose, if you point your vision towards spiritual understanding, if you point your vision towards self knowledge and self worth and self respect and self protection and self understanding, if you point
Mhm.
your vision to those things, right? I say 70-30, 80-20 split, either one. 70-30, most of the time should be going towards self, knowledge of self, learning about self, learning what's going
Mhm.
to make yourself better, learning what's going to make you and those you love better and how you could better yourself. And then the 30 is for everything else, right? The fuckery, the laughing, the jokes, the whatever, the side things, whatever, the things we like to do where we're not in Zen mode, right? But 70 to 80% should be focused on all the positive things about you, not the community, not the world, not how you could save the animals, not how you could save the Amazon rainforest, but you. And once you do that and your purpose comes online, then you'll be saving the world. Saving you is saving the world. Being the best version of you is saving the world. Being the best version of you is saving the animals, the rainforest, the city, the town that you're in. You. Once you do that, then the world opens up to you. And that's really the goal. All right, Ife, I know we said we are going to stop earlier.
Right. You know, the building can keep building. So, yeah.
We can keep going all day. Go ahead, Ife. Go ahead.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and great questions. Excellent questions that were asked. I enjoyed the conversation a lot. Thank you.
Likewise. All right, y'all. Peace, power, and prosperity. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Drop what you feel in the comments. We out of here. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.
Take care.